Iodine today is more important than it ever has been, and yet we know it's always been important. Iodine is the oldest allopathic medicine. It's the first medicine actually that cured a specific disease, which is goiter. The governments around the world 50 years ago recognized how important it was and started putting iodine in salt, and even in the United States it was put in the bread. And then some crazy person took it out from the government and put bromide in its place. So iodine is very important for the body, for health. The Japanese eat a lot of more iodine than anybody else because of the high consumption of seafood. There are several doctors in the world. I call them the iodine doctors. Dr. David Brownstein is a friend of mine, and he's written a book on iodine and inspired me to write a book on iodine. And I subtitled it Bringing Back the Universal Medicine because it is very useful for many, many things. It's essential. We need it. We need it. The thyroid needs iodine to produce thyroid hormone, which controls the metabolism of the cells. So it's a very fundamental substance. It has been used forever in hospitals and emergency rooms as a topical substance to kill viruses, bacteria, fungus, mold, mildew. It basically kills all single-cell pathogens very quickly. So I use it instead of antibiotics. Only once in all these years have I used antibiotic in desperation for one of my children, and I have 6 children. Whenever they get sick, the first thing I go for is the iodine, the second thing I go for is the magnesium, and the third thing I go for is the sodium bicarbonate. When dealing with flu, these substances, or cold, or anything that moves the body into discomfort, the beginning of any disease, the beginning of anything, these substances used very quickly you can have a cold, start with a cold, and really avoid going deeply into it. Same with the flu. If you use magnesium chloride orally strongly, the bicarbonate and the iodine orally, you can kind of head off a flu or cold at the pass. That's how effective these substances are. If they can save a life from a person from a heart attack, or magnesium, if you inject it quick enough, when a person's having a stroke, they can avoid all the brain damage. So iodine is important and can be used in cancer treatment. Dr. Tullio Simoncini has pioneered the use of iodine topically for skin cancer. He was not aware, though, that you could really take it orally in high dosages and actually treat cancer internally, because the iodine will be on a seek and destroy mission of anything that doesn't belong in the body. It's a broad spectrum killer of pathogens. Some people believe that cancer is a fungus. And there are a lot of good reasons to see and believe that. Or, if you disagree with that, to recognize that cancer is usually or very often accompanied by infectious process. And late-stage infections tend to be fungus. Sodium bicarbonate is a very strong antifungal, and so is iodine. The dosages, depending on how you use it, and the substance, the type, there's Iodo-Lugols, which has been around for 150 years, which is now at a lower concentration in the United States because of certain laws that were passed. But you can get 2% iodine, Lugol's iodine, you can get 7%, and you could even get as high as 15%. Whenever you use iodine, no matter what iodine you use, transdermally painting the skin, you have to be a little sensitive. Sometimes it can burn the skin. Most often it doesn't, but you have to watch for skin reactions, drying out of the skin. I recommend for women with breast cancer to paint their breasts with iodine. Oral dosages vary depending on where you live, your age, your size. Today in the Northern Hemisphere, we do have a problem with radioactive iodine. If your thyroid is empty, running deficient on iodine, it will be a sponge for the radioactive type. So it is really important today to supplement with iodine. It's essential. If you live in the interior, away from the sea, also very important. You'll have less iodine, exposed to less iodine in the environment. With a nascent iodine I recommend, which is in the atomic form, which is the form that the thyroid needs to create the thyroid hormones. It doesn't have to break down a molecular iodine, which is Lugol's, or the pill forms, solid forms of iodine. With the nascent iodine, in the bottle it says 3 to 5 drops, I believe, 3 times a day. For my 3-year-old, I've given up 15 to 20 drops at a time. You can take iodine, start out with, say with a child, if you're getting an infection, instead of an antibiotic, the iodine is always going to be safer than an antibiotic. Iodine will not destroy and kill the healthy bacteria in the intestines. The only reaction normally is a detoxification if a person is very, very toxic and very, very deficient. So with children, basically for basic supplementation, at a minimum level in the Northern Hemisphere today, I probably would be talking about 30 drops a day of nascent. Depending on Lugols, maybe the same. Some Lugols, as I say, depending on the concentration, you'll be taking less Lugols than nascent, iodine. In treatment of cancer, patients usually go for 25 milligrams up to 50 and as high as 100 milligrams a day. This is what these iodine doctors are suggesting. 100 years ago, the doctors used to go even higher, much higher actually, so we're still in a very comfortable range. With children, I would not hesitate when a child has a high fever and has an infection to do 10 or 15 drops of nascent every 2 or 3 hours. The more you break up the dosage, the more you can actually take orally in a very comfortable way for the body. When in the cancer protocol, we're talking about dosing with all the different items every 2 or 3 hours.